Alright, so the time has come to start assembling things. So one thing I have done, it looks like I'm going to have to do a quick touch-up of some white there. I'll take care of that quickly. But one thing I have done is put a magnet into the base part and one into the bottom of the torso part, just to give it a little bit more strength. I'm a little worried about this wanting to cantilever when the weight of the whole, everything going on in that left arm is resting on it. So I think that'll give it just a little bit of extra strength. I'm just going to touch this up. This is some enamel paint, so I'm not too worried about it needing to be varnished or anything. Just give that a little bit of time to dry. So, anyway, that's where I'm at right now on this project. So the plan is first, because I want to give this plenty of time to set up, so the plan is first to put the load-bearing arm in using some plastic weld resin, or epoxy resin, and also I'm going to put this in because I can hold that and then let gravity just hold this in place. So that is my first plan here. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm mixing up this epoxy, and I try to mix it really good because you want it to be a good mix of the resin and the hardener. Don't want to have any parts that are just kind of sticky but not going to set up. So the first thing I'm going to put in is this. So I'm going to put a little bit around here. I don't really want so much that's going to splooge out, but I want enough. Stick some down into here as well. Not too much again, because I don't want to mess up where the head attaches, because I did carve out a notch on the head, and so that'll hopefully match the bit of nail I've got acting as a reinforcement in here, but I do want to give a little bit of reinforcement to both sides of this nail. And then I will just stick some in all the way around here. I don't actually mind if it acts as a certain amount of a filler. And even though that back bow is not quite a flush fit, it'll be good enough. So we had a bit of a tragedy with this figure here. So the leaf has completely drooped. I don't know if you can see that or not. So this was standing up here. So I'm going to try to fix that. Also had another bell fall off the back here, and when I was pulling it out, the foot broke again, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of repair work. But my plan right now is grab something to point with here. For now, my plan is, these will work. Probably going to try and cut this about here, maybe, and then drill down in and then cut up here as well. And I did buy some armature wire. I'm going to see how stiff that is, if that can support the weight. And then I'm going to try sculpting this area in between here with armature wire and green stuff or a milliput, perhaps both mixed together. And then I'll drill holes into either end to insert the rod. And I'll probably just glue it up here, but I might leave this part unattached, or I might do the other way around, I'm not sure yet. But I do want to have this so that all this weight isn't sitting on this when I travel with it, like to my office. Yeah, this was sitting on my file cabinet at work, and all of a sudden I came in one day and I was like, I can't see her face because of the leaf. It wasn't like that before, was it? And I just slowly noticed over the course of about a month it was slowly wilting. But as you can see, this has not cracked or bent or anything. I mean, it has bent, but it hasn't cracked or broken or anything. So I think it's just the amount of weight sitting on top of this over the time has caused that to slowly warp. Now, complete backup, I did buy, it is fall right now, so it's the time when a young man's fancy turns to thoughts of Halloween and perhaps football. I did buy this at a local crafts shop. It was on sale, so I got that for a really good rate. I'm going to start working on, first of all, I'm going to try to glue this leg together and let that set up. I'm going to put this head to the side for now. Find a safe place for the head. I'm also working with a new camera mount and playing with different adjustments for that to see if I can find one I like. So far, not liking this one, so I'm going to try something else. Okay, so we'll try this camera adjustment. So I've decided that the amount of weight on this joint here probably needs a pin in it. So I am going to mark that for pinning. At any rate, I decided to call this an emergency repair because I did not expect to have to do this. Everything seemed to be fine, and then it wasn't. Okay, so apologize about that. I got most of the way done with this and realized I didn't have any more memory left in my camera, so I've glued this leg back on, and there's a bit of a gap there, but I did pin it. Get that to focus. I did pin it this time, but there's a gap there that I'll have to worry about. And then if I go over here, so this is the body, and I ended up, where'd you go? There we go. I ended up having to pin that bell back on. So when I cut the leaf off, I ended up cutting about this much off of it, so just about 2 centimeters roughly. But I am going to make this section a little bit longer. So this is green stuff mixed with some milliput. I thought I'd try that. It is a little bit thicker than what it probably needed to be. But I am going to leave this straighter than what this was because this had bent quite a lot. But it does appear, at least initially, that this, if I can keep it from twisting, at least, that this will hold up, it looks like. I have it more in vertical direction. I'm hoping that when the milliput and green stuff cures up, I'm hoping that it will give it just a little bit more rigidity without becoming too brittle, is my hope. So I'm just going to let this cure really good, and then I'm going to see if I can sand that. And then when I was done, I had a bunch of the milliput and green stuff left over, so I've got the Green World tube rollers. So I made a bunch of little tubes and worm type things out of the remaining milliput because I always way overestimate how much I'm going to use for that. So I did try to use the sculpting wire, the armature wire, and I was just afraid that it would be a little bit too bendy, and I don't know if you can see this, but at the narrowest end I didn't feel like there was going to be enough space for me to drill a hole and have enough resin left on either side of the hole to have any kind of strength. So that's why I stepped away from that, and instead I moved to this. It's an artistic craft wire. I don't know if you can see that, but it is roughly 1.02 millimeters in diameter. So my 1 millimeter diameter drill bit was able to handle that pretty well. It is a little bit tight slipping in, but that's okay. So yeah, so that's where everything is right now. And so I apologize for the problems that I ran into there. That was not intentional. But I will let this dry overnight, and then hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to give you some more content. I'm going to do my best to grind this down to an even consistency. We'll see how that goes. I don't actually have a lot of experience with sanding and filing green stuff, and I have none with Milliput, so we'll see how successful I can be. So what I'm doing here is I'm sanding across the top where I can see the outline instead of trying to sand on the front edge. I'm sanding against the profile. It's actually sanding pretty nicely, so quite pleased with this. I was not at all sure how well this would work, and of course I still don't know how durable or inflexible this is going to be, if it's going to have the same drooping problem that the original resin did. But I guess time will tell. One other thing I'll point out is a lot of times with using a file, it's not the pressure down, but it's just the back and forth that does the actual work. So it's going pretty well, and I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure on this, which is good because I don't want to accidentally risk deforming this wire or bending or cracking this putty. So I feel like I'm kind of sneaking up on it here. This is the diameter that I'm shooting for, and it looks pretty close right now for this end over here. So let's see what we got. About 4 millimeters, and this is about 3 millimeters. So I've got a little bit of ways to go yet. I switched to a diamond file just to see how that goes. I don't have a ton of experience using files. I've got a lot more using foam sponge files, but this seems like it's going to be a more efficient way to go. Also, is this the most materials that I've ever tried to remove from something by filing. So it's a bit of a new experience for me, but when you think about it, a lot of engineers in that will take files and make like really precise pieces of machinery just using hand files, which blows my mind. Or, you know, they'll get something close with a CNC machine or a lathe or a mill or something, and then they'll take it the rest of the way with the file. A lot of times, even with very precise machinery, the last little bit is done by hand with a file or some kind of diamond edge. I can't remember what they call it, but what they use to flatten out the vise. So, interesting, good experience for me, I guess. Since at the end of the day it's supposed to be an organic shape, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, ideally I want it to match up at this end, but anything in between I'm not too worried about, although there is a kind of a hump right here that I'd like to wear down a little bit more. So just keep working on that, I guess. But at the end of the day, this isn't the part anyone's going to be really looking at on the figure, and it's going to be better than the droopy thing that I had. I think that looks pretty good. Looks like unfortunately, it looks like I probably will have to glue that, which I was kind of hoping not to have to do, because I'd like to keep this as a detachable thing, but I think that's going to work. So I guess the next step is going to be, I'll give this just a little bit of a more of a polish finish, and then we'll prime it and paint it. All in all, I think that worked pretty well.